A voice in the darkness from the collection with eyes open. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth on the right hand, that I cannot see him. The Book of Job. I rubbed my grainy eyes and wished the silence had descended on the car would lift so I could get some answers. Mandalay, I thought, what have you gotten yourself into? I slipped lower in the back seat, brushed hair away from my face, and stared out the tinted windows. Not that there was much to see. At 3 a.m, most of the city of Oneonta was still asleep. I closed my eyes, let my head fall back, and wished I were back in my hotel room. Better still, I wished I were back in Basingstoke. Can you tell me where we're going? If you can't tell me why you dragged me out of bed at this ungodly hour, the least you can do— We've been over this, Ms. Jones. The stone-faced man to my left said in a monotone voice. It's a matter of security. I stared at him, my eyes going over his perfectly correct business suit. In the back of my mind, pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place. Security? You're with Milsai, aren't you? He turned to me, anger beginning to cross his face. How did you know that? Your manner. You act as if every secret you keep will, if revealed, bring about the end of civilization as we know it. I worked for Milsai long enough to recognize one of their representatives. So, are you a field supervisor or somewhat higher up in the hierarchy? He remained silent. Definitely in the hierarchy. Maybe a regional supervisor. I waved at the two men across from me. These two flashed EarthGov security credentials when they got me. That would mean you're rather high up in the proverbial ladder. The three of them remained silent. Can you tell me one thing? Does this have anything to do with my ex-husband? The Milsai rep looked at the two EGS agents. One nodded. Dr. Carter is involved. Beyond that, I can't say yet. Has anything gone wrong? Milsai returned to his silence, which told me more than any answer would have. Would it matter if I reminded you that I don't work for Milsai anymore? I came to Oneonta for a job interview. You never really leave Milsai, Ms. Jones. As for your job interview, I'm sure Director Sinclair will understand why you missed your appointment. Do you plan on telling her? Milsai looked at me and nodded. It's the least we could do. I stared at him, feeling disgust and resignation. Never let it be said, I muttered, that Milsai didn't do the least they could do. An hour later, we were in a flyer climbing to orbit. I'd hoped that once we'd boarded the flyer, which I would have thought was secure, the three of them would relax a bit and tell me why I was needed. But one of the EGS agents went up to the cockpit while the other two took seats in the back of the passenger compartment. I took a seat at the front and stared at the bulkhead. 30 minutes passed before Milsai walked up to me and sat. We need you to go into the Bowen Research Station, locate Dr. Carter, and retrieve his research. Just as simple as that. Straightforward and tactless. The Milsai way. What's the matter? All your agents forget their piloting skills? Milsai stared for a moment. We have a problem, Ms. Jones. Do you know what Dr. Carter was working on? Don't you? Matt was between projects when I left Milsai. Coincidentally, that was also when our divorce was finalized. I haven't spoken to him in 2 years. I most certainly don't know what he was working on. Milsai looked back at EGS. Well? The agent's head bobbed. No choice. Dr. Carter was conducting research on Bowen Station, experimenting with new shield systems. During our last communication, he said he was on the verge of a major breakthrough. That was 3 days ago. At approximately 1945 last night, something happened. What happened? From what the sensors on Topside Station picked up, Bowen Station just blinked out of existence for a period of 5 minutes. Not an explosion or a failure of topside sensors, it just disappeared. Despite myself, I was curious, and just as suddenly reappeared after 5 minutes? What's the status of the station now? Now it seems like the station is shifting in and out of phase. Some of our people are speculating that the station is out of phase with the surrounding space. My head fell back and I tried to think back over 2 years. I remember Matt once talking about a theory he had, something about slipping matter out of phase, rendering it invisible and undetectable. It sounds like he's been working on it and something went wrong. Millside nodded. That's why we need you, Ms. Jones. You're familiar with the technology. Now wait just a damn minute. All I know is that Matt once theorized about phase shielding. But you know Dr. Carter. You'll be able to get in and shut it down. There's too much experimental technology to be given up. Not a word about Matt or the station's crew. Typical. Who'll be coming with me? Though there won't be anyone else, Ms. Jones. Of course not. Why would there be? Why send in and possibly lose an entire squad when you can send in one expendable person? I really don't have a choice, do I? The only answer I got was the blank look on Millside's face. I sighed. When do I start? We'll be landing on Topside first, then you'll continue on to Bowen Station. He waved a hand toward the rear bulkhead. There's equipment in the back that should help you. Let me just say that Millside appreciates your efforts on their behalf. No, you don't. All of you in the hierarchy think that everyone who works for you are nothing more than expendable tools, even those of us who don't work for you anymore. You could always come back to the fold. No. When this is over, I'm going to Division 5 of EarthGov Security. Director Sinclair sounded very enthusiastic when I spoke to her. Assuming you haven't foiled my chances, that is. Millside sniffed. Well, if that's what you really want. What did he expect? That I changed my mind because of his winning personality? It's what I want. I pinched the bridge of my nose and wished I was somewhere, anywhere else. Millside stood and walked to the forward hatch. As he stepped into the cockpit, EGS walked up to me. Couldn't he see that I just wanted to be left alone to wallow in my anger? What kind of name is Mandalay? He asked. I looked up at him and sighed. It's not the first time I've been asked about my name. Mandalay is just odd enough to pique the interest. Mom and Dad wanted their kids to have unique names. My sister's name is Mandala. EGS continued to stare at me, as if waiting for more of an answer. Okay, if that's not good enough, how about this? Mandalay is a city on the Irrawaddy River in Myanmar. That's also the name of a hotel in Las Vegas. A mandala is a circular figure of Hindu origin, used as a religious representation of the universe. You're not an artificial, are you? That sounds like a name an artificial would have. I stood and turned, suddenly angry. That kind of talk is the surest way to set me off. I'm pretty much a live and let live kind of woman, but I have no patience for people who make judgments against others because of where and how they were born, or if they were designed to be better than the rest of us. No, I'm not an enhanced human. My brother-in-law, however, is. I would really appreciate if you didn't use that word again. EGS looked confused as he shuffled back to his seat. I watched him, then closed my eyes and wondered how I'd gotten into this.